So I just spent a week in Hawaii, which means this is as tan as I get. What's shaking bacon? I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to my studio. This is where I do food photography. So if you're into that, you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And today we are fighting oxidation because you know, you've been there, right? You've sliced into a beautiful, pristine avocado that you selected specifically at the grocery store, only to find maybe 5 minutes later it's starting to turn brown. And you're like, no! So I have personally always used one particular method to fight that browning effect, but there's actually a lot of different ways to do it. So I figured I would put those ways to the test and see which one maybe works the best. And so if that sounds good to you, you stick around. So I think we're all familiar with the concept of oxidation, or at least we have experienced it in real life when we have some sort of beautiful piece of produce that we've sliced into, namely things like apples, avocados, artichokes, and that when we've then exposed them to the air, that suddenly they start to brown on us, and that's no bueno from a food styling perspective. So I have personally always just used lemon juice or lime juice or whatever citrus I had on hand in order to prevent that. But I was doing some artichokes about 2 weeks ago and had a whole lot of fun styling these artichokes, but I was a little disappointed at how brown they turned. Even though I used lemon juice just like I always do, they just didn't look as vibrant and fresh as I wanted them to. And so I thought, you know, maybe there's some other solutions out there. So I did a little research, I got some recommendations, and I'm gonna put these 4 different methods to the test. Now, of course, we are gonna use my favorite old standard method of using the lemons. How I usually do it is just I apply straight lemon juice. Like I'll just squeeze it into like a little jar or something like that, and then just either dip the fruit in there or pour it over the fruit, toss it in a bowl, whatever you got to do to get it covered. Some people will dilute it as a 1-to-1 ratio with water, but I'm gonna stick with my good old method of just the straight lemon juice. All right, so then next I just went for some straight ascorbic acid, and I hear this is great stuff. I've never personally tried this. I picked this up for $8 at the health food store, and this is, you know, you might think, well, I just take some vitamin C capsules and, you know, smush those up. But most vitamin C actually has additional ingredients in it. And so this is just straight up ascorbic acid, nothing crazy. And it's actually the powder. So these are not even in capsule form. But now, of course, you might be some sort of like mad scientist or nutritionist and say, well, Joni, ascorbic acid is found in citrus. That's why the citrus works. Well, I know, but maybe we might have more luck just getting straight to the source and going with just straight up ascorbic acid. So we've just got a nice little powder form here. Now, as far as how to actually apply this to our fruit, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dissolve it in water, which is the generally recommended method. What seems to be the common idea is 1 teaspoon of this to 1 cup of water. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up. And then just like the lemon juice, I'm just going to dip the produce straight into that liquid, toss it around, and set it out to dry to see what happens. All right, another recommended product, this is by Ball. This is called Fruit Fresh Produce Protector. Say that 10 times fast. And so it says, according to the label, we can just sprinkle this straight onto the fruit, or you can go ahead and dissolve 2 teaspoons with 3 tablespoons of water and apply that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the liquid method and then just sprinkle that on the produce from there. Now, looking at the ingredients, this also contains ascorbic acid, which just like everything else so far that we've talked about, contains that. So clearly that's a very helpful thing to prevent browning, but we'll see if this is any more effective than just using straight ascorbic acid, because this does contain just a couple other ingredients, including dextrose and citric acid. So we'll see how this stuff works. All right, and the 4th method, 4th solution today is sodium metabisulfite, or you might see it as sodium bisulfite. And the big warning here is this is not meant to be consumed. The 3 previous things we've talked about are all safe for consumption. You can put it on the apples and eat the apples afterward, but if you treat your apples or anything that we're gonna do today with sodium metabisulfite or sodium bisulfite, do not eat it, because there are people who are allergic to it and it can cause death. So this is like big, massive warning, do not eat this. Oddly enough, there is no warning on this label. That makes me a little concerned, but where did I pick this up? Well, this is typically used in the brewing process, beer brewing, winemaking, again, used as a preservative, helps preserve color and freshness. And so Ryan picked this up at the local brew store, which actually we go to because we brew our own kombucha at home. We don't treat our kombucha with this stuff. But again, this is another solution that people recommended for keeping our fruits and veggies fresh as well. So as far as how to use this stuff, well, we're going to dissolve it in water, 1/2 teaspoon to 3 cups of water. So this is like super potent stuff. And so I'm really curious. I have never used this before. I have heard about it before. So I'm really excited to see if this actually works any better than the other solutions. So at this point, we have treated all of our fruits and veggies. And then I also have a row of fruits and veggies that are not treated. They have nothing on them. They're just straight up cut and sitting there so that we kind of have a control group. Now, of course, you know, I am not by any stretch of the imagination scientific or precise, but you know, we're just trying to get a general idea if one of these is better than the others. So what I'm going to do is check back in 15 minutes, just see where we're at with the browning process, see if there's any difference, and then continue to come back at 15-minute intervals just to see if we have one that outperforms the other, or if there are differences between how it reacts with the different fruits and veggies. So I'm super curious. Let's see what happens. Okay, maybe I'm the only one, but I found this whole process just completely fascinating. Like, my mind is kind of blown. But one little footnote I want to make sure to mention is because you know that I am a little neurotic, I did perform this test twice because I really wanted to make sure that there was consistency, that there was not some sort of fluke, that I didn't mess things up. And so it was completely consistent the 2 times I did it. And the first time, like you can see, I kind of applied the juice, especially the lemon juice, as well as the fruit fresh, just kind of like drizzled it on top of it with a spoon. But then I was like, no, I really need to submerge it because I just wanted to make sure like the way that I had submerged the other ones was then consistent with those. So by the second time through, I submerged everything completely. Equal opportunity for all fruits and veggies concerned. But let's go ahead and run through the photos and just make some comparisons, because I think that, you know, overall what we can see, like the final outcome after 1 hour, is that sodium metabisulfite is the clear winner, right? We have the least amount of browning. You know, we did get those little kind of orange spots, like especially on the artichoke, because I feel like the artichokes are really what show the browning process the most, is that we get those little kind of orangey spots. But overall, the rest of the artichoke still looks pretty pristine. Even the stem, which the stem on the other ones clearly, like, no matter what, discoloration happened there. So clearly the sodium metabisulfite worked the best in that regard. And certainly the same can be said for using that also on the avocados and the apples. Like, we have minimal browning as we filter through each of those individual slides over the time. Like, the browning is completely minimal, and especially what's nice on that avocado is that it really retains that green color, that we don't get much yellowing, which is really, really nice. But as I mentioned before, my big concern with the sodium metabisulfite is that it is not recommended for consumption, at least in this application. You know, that in trace amounts, the FDA has approved it for use in things like beer brewing and in wine, but when we're using it in such large quantities, which again, it was a rather small quantity, it is diluted, but it's still not recommended for consumption because of the allergic risks that are associated with it. And so in that regard, you know, just thinking about where you're shooting, if you're shooting at home and you have small children around and there's a risk of them trying to eat something off of your scene, or you have family members who are just totally clueless and come in and take a bite of something, we don't want to run the risk of them getting sick. And so if it's a priority for you that the food needs to be safe and needs to be potentially edible, then what I would personally go with is the lemon juice, because again, we kind of filter through the various slides here in the different time marks, and we can see that the lemon, I think, holds up better than the fruit fresh and definitely better than the ascorbic acid. Like, my overall impression of the ascorbic acid is almost that it makes things worse, especially that avocado. Like, even comparing the final avocado with the ascorbic acid to the avocado that had no treatment of it, like it looks worse with the ascorbic acid. So if you don't want to go with the sodium metabisulfite, then I would definitely continue to stick with my old tried and true method of using the lemon. But if you are on a professional shoot or you're shooting something for a client and you need those fruits and veggies to look pristine and you are not at any risk of somebody accidentally consuming the food, then definitely the sodium metabisulfite is the way to go. So thanks so much for joining me for this fun little experiment. I know I learned something new, and I'm definitely glad that I invested the whole $2 in adding this to my food styling repertoire. But certainly if you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments section below. If you try any of these methods and have success with them, or if you have your own methods for preserving the color and the freshness of your fruit, definitely feel free to share your images over on Instagram and tag me. I am at The Bite Shop. But with that, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you take a lot of pictures and you stay out of trouble, okay? I'll see you again here real soon. All right, bye. Okay, so I'm actually filming this second portion, follow-up portion of the video the next morning. So these have been sitting here overnight. Some of these look really cute. Sodium metabisulfite, still a champ. Although let's look at the avocado. Avocado's not looking so hot. Not gonna make some primo avocado toast with that.